Andrew, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Yeah, excited to be here. Super excited to talk to you on the launch day of Lakewatch.
What is Lakewatch?
So Lakewatch is a new kind of SIEM. It's an open agentic SIEM, something we actually talk about as a open security lakehouse. So our thesis is that SIEMs as we know them today are really going to disappear because this new agentic era, you're dealing with unprecedented threats. You've got actors that can easily spawn thousands of AI agents, and these agents can do things that used to be, only the purview of like nation state actors. And now literally anybody with a keyboard and, some LLMs can go and do that. And so we need some new tools to face this challenge. And that's what we're bringing with Databricks Lakewatch.
You speak to a lot of security leaders, a lot of security experts. What is the value of Lakewatch to them and their organization?
Well, maybe the place to start is some of the challenges that they're dealing with. So a number of different problems. Again, with this backdrop that the threats are evolving. One example of that is the time to exploit new vulnerabilities has dropped precipitously. It used to be years, now it's down to days, and we expect that to go even hours. And a lot of these are also threats that are 0 days, meaning maybe the LLMs have actually found an exploit that had never been documented before. So as I mentioned, that's nation state type of stuff. And the challenge is today's systems can't keep up with that on a couple of fronts. One is data. So the attackers are going to attack anywhere in your infrastructure. They don't care, right? So to defend, you want complete visibility, and you don't want to be limited by constraints around how much data you can keep, how long you can keep it, or the types of data. For example, if I'm going to do an attack that involves some mix of social engineering and vulnerabilities, maybe I'm going to chat with customer support and say, hey, I need to reset my two-factor. I'm an employee. I lost my password. Can you please help, right? Today, you typically don't see that, or at least you're not seeing that chat log. Maybe you see what the customer support agent does, but the chat itself is multimodal. So that's an example of a new type of data, in addition to just the giant volume of traditional sources you have. So problem number one is get all of your data, see all of your data, do that cost effectively, and performantly at scale. Problem number two is today's processes afterwards are pretty manual. You have human beings that are writing detection rules. And so they go out and research what are the recent types of attacks that people are doing. And they'll say, well, what are the indicators of this attack? How would I detect this in my system? Let me find these particular criteria, search criteria, and alert anytime that happens. But the problem is you might be one step behind. What if you have an attacker who's doing something that's never been seen before or is trying a different way of breaking in? So you're behind there. And then the last stage that's manual is investigation. So even if you got those detections perfect, those detections throw off alerts. Human beings today are answering those alerts. And so you have a team of people that are sitting there examining everyone, and oftentimes they're overwhelmed with the number of alerts. Both of those manual processes can be highly improved with agents and with AI. And the AI, to do this right, you need to give it visibility over all the data. You need to give it APIs into everything, and you need a really open architecture so that you can benefit from the fact that AI is changing day by day. So if you're going to lock yourself into a product that's giving you just one fixed flavor of this, you're going to find yourself behind. And that's one of the big strengths of Databricks here is we've got this open ecosystem, and we have this really flexible architecture that comes from our strength as a data platform, a data and AI platform. So that's kind of the long-winded story of what are some of the problems and how we go about addressing those.
I know that historically, implementing the alternative solutions was a costly process. Is your plan to kind of democratize that security aspect for your customers, regardless of the size?
Yeah. No, you got it. You got it. I mean, we believe that you shouldn't have to make this choice between what data can I afford to bring in to my SIEM? Is this data valuable enough? Can I keep it for long enough? How long do I really need it? All those trade-offs are, frankly, coming at the expense of security, and we don't think that should be the trade-off. So Storage here is incredibly cheap. It's cloud storage. Frankly, you control the cloud storage as the customer. We don't charge you for that. And the pricing model here has to do with compute. So essentially pay for the value you're getting. Pay only when you're needing to actually do some analysis or get some value out of that data. If you're not touching some of that data, you don't have to pay for it. And so that gives you the full flexibility. You don't have this old trade-off between my hot data and my cold data. Do I put my cold data in the cloud, my hot data in my SIEM? We think that world is united now, and all of your data is accessible however you need it. Some of it you need frequently, some of it you need infrequently, and that's kind of our core philosophy. At the end of the day, we think it should be a lot less expensive than it is today, and yet a lot more powerful. That really lets you lean into deploying agents and getting a lot of value from the AI that you could do on top, which is, I think, really where the potential lies, because that makes your teams more productive, and that's where you get the real big savings of time and ability for your team to get even more done.
So how do you get started with Lakewatch?
Yeah, so today Lakewatch is released in a private preview form, which means that customers that are interested reach out to their Databricks sales reps, and we can provide access that way. It's going to be more generally available later this year.
Awesome. Well, thank you so very much
Thank
for
you.
your time.
I really enjoyed
really
it.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much.